came home after dropping the wife at work, seen the door was open and the animals were outside when I had left them inside. I came to the house, I opened the door, stepped in, the house was in total disarray. And I thought I heard somebody in the bedroom. Reached for my gun, felt I didn't have it, and I had forgotten it in the house. I then backed out the door, was freaking out, looked towards my neighbor's house, because he carries a 9mm, he wasn't home. I was then forced to call the police. Knowing I had the plants in the house, I figured I'd better take a chance on calling them than getting shot. Events as they got here, they pulled up like the SWAT team in action you'd see on TVs. One officer was a canine, and my dog was loose, and my dog went after him. He told me to get a hold of my dog or he would shoot him. I then got Charlie, contained Charlie. Then they told me to go in, sit down, not to move. I listened to their commands, went in, sat down. The dog got away from me again. He went after the cop again with the other dog, and he threatened to shoot my dog again. And then got a hold of my dog again, got him back in the house, got him under control. The cops began questioning me as if I had robbed my own home. If somebody was to shoot my dog, I would just be brokenhearted, you know? They began questioning me about narcotics because there was pill bottles that were scattered all over the counter. And I told them about the narcotics that I was on because I was disabled. They started asking me about marijuana. I told them that I had smoked marijuana. Again, I told them about my disability, and that was the only thing that helped my nerve pain. They had me in the living room, sitting in the chair. Well, that's the thing. It was the interrogation. When he was interrogating me, he was looking, his back was away from me as he was asking me some questions, and I thought he had located my bong and my marijuana that I had a cup behind my television. I said, well, I just got the bong there, and then he looked and he grabbed my bong, and he said, oh, you know, you're gonna have some problems here now. And I said, well, I'm completely out of pot though. He said, and then he goes, hey, did you guys check out back? Yeah, it's clear out back. He says, go look again out there. So they came out back and looked again and then discovered the marijuana. Well, they pretty much were convinced that I did my own burglary, set up my own burglary, and nothing more was even said. They pack it up, took the pictures, and they were out of here. Yeah, they had cuffed me that day, and then I had gotten, like I said, they took me to jail, and we posted bond, and I got out the next day. And my neighbor had come over, and we were talking about the arrest and stuff, and he had told me that, he says, you know, I got it on videotape, the burglar leaving your house. He said, I offered that to the police. They declined to look at it. They said they no longer needed it as they were now investigating drug trafficking. While incarcerated, they made me remove the fentanyl patches. I told them how long I had been on it. I told them the effects and what would happen if they take me off it, and they didn't care.
You feel you're treated inhumanely?
I feel anybody that's disabled and has special medications and gets not allowed to take their medications because they're incarcerated, I think is the most inhumane thing this government can do to a person.
Were you ever Mirandized as they were asking you these questions?
You know, that's a funny thing you asked me that, because I was Mirandized, but I wasn't Mirandized until I was down at the Boynton Beach police station and they were getting ready to transport me to the Palm Beach County Jail. The arresting officer said, oh geez, before I forget, I need you to sign this card. I said, what card? Oh, it's your Miranda warning. So you never gave me one. He said, well, I'm giving you one now. You know, So I signed his card and they took me to jail.
Now, they charged you with trafficking of hallucinogen.
I don't know what hallucinogenic I was manufacturing, but the only thing I was growing was marijuana.
Ever hallucinated off of pot?
Never in my life. I've never even heard of anybody hallucinating from marijuana. Number one, the first penalty is I will lose my driver's license for 2 years.
But you weren't driving a vehicle.
I haven't figured that one out yet because I was not driving a vehicle. There was no marijuana found in my vehicle. But yet, if I get convicted of this, they want to take my driver's license for 2 years and make me go to treatment class so I can stop abusing marijuana so I can get my driver's license back. If I go through with this trial and I'm found guilty, I'll go to prison for 5 years. Extreme isn't the word for it. I could go out, rob a grocery store, beat somebody to within an inch of their life, and I can guarantee you I would not get the time that I'm looking at now. And I do believe that the evidence will show, once those plants are counted, that it's a bogus charge to begin with. You know what? I didn't have a clue. If I would have known that 26 plants was considered trafficking, I could have guaranteed you. They claim I had 26. I don't think I did. But believe me, if I would have known the law was 26 plants, I would have had 24. Because I wouldn't take a chance of risking losing everything I have for marijuana. It doesn't make sense to me. Back in the day, you know, the cop sees you're out, you're having a good time, they're going to come up, they're going to talk to you, they shut it down, guys, just shut it down, go on home, and call it a night, it's late. Today they're going to show up, they're going to be busting heads and taking people to jail. I think they get an erection over this stuff, you know. The more people that they can screw up their day, the better it makes them feel sometimes. Never call the police. Let me tell you, I got out of jail and I'm scared to death, I'm stressed. I start getting, the next day I'll get home, I open the mailbox, I got like 50 letters in there from all these different attorneys. I start opening the mail, I start calling attorneys. The first attorney I'd met, I don't even remember his name, but he was in downtown West Palm Beach. And he told me the sooner I give him $5,000, the sooner he can do this, that, and the other thing for me. Told him I'd have to think about it, and I'd get back to him the next day. Well, he called me the next morning at 9 o'clock and asked me if I had his $5,000. And I told him I hadn't decided I was going to pick him for an attorney to start with. And he started cussing at me, told me to call him when he wants me to do his appeal after I've been convicted and sent to jail. I don't remember his name, but he was an attorney in Palm Beach, downtown West Palm Beach. I wish I could remember his name. I just can't remember it for the life of me. And then I called an attorney at Palm Beach Gardens. His ad said his partner used to work for the prosecuting attorney's office for 20 years, da-da-da, they're in good standings, this and that, so I went to see him. He convinced me the sooner he could get in front of the prosecuting attorney, he could get these charges pretty much dismissed, and because he thought they were a joke is how he had convinced me. So I gave him $1,000 down and told him I could afford $100 a month payments. Well, the $1,000 I had to borrow from my mother, and the monthly payments come out of my disability check. So he got to the point where he reached $1,500, and he called me and told me I need to come to his office. I went to his office, and he said that he had made a good deal for me. And I asked him what that deal pertained to. He said, well, You're gonna lose your license for 2 years, and you gotta go to jail for 30 days. And then you gotta go to treatment when you get out so you can get your license back. Plus you gotta continue paying me up to $5,000. And I told him he was crazy. I told him I'm not taking that deal. He told him he had no business accepting or making any type of bargain like that for me. Wouldn't have been able to do it. The pain, if I forget to take my medicine, the pain that becomes in my feet and the burning in my legs, it's almost like I need to go to a hospital. It's that intense, the throbbing and the burning. Well, my last attorney, I had asked him, because I had done research, I had asked him about the medical necessity defense. He looked at me and he laughed. He says, "You know who your judge is?" I says, "Yeah, it's Judge Miller." He goes, "That bitch is the toughest whore on the bench." And this is how he's talking about his colleagues in the court. And I'm thinking, he says, "There's no way she's going to allow you to have that defense." And I said, "Well, why not?" He says, "Because it just doesn't happen." And I said, "Well," and he says, "then you don't have the witnesses either. You don't have the money for them. You have to make payments to me." I said, "Well, what about the court? I've seen the court pay for stuff." He says, "The judge won't give you no money." The loss of license alone, this house will no longer be able to be ours. My wife will no longer be able to get out to Green Acres to her employment. She will no longer be able to get to her doctor appointments. I will no longer be able to get to my doctor appointments, to the grocery shopping, to this, to that, to anything. The public transportation in the state it's a joke. I don't know where that leaves her. That will leave her, I don't know. I don't know, and that's what scares me. They want to not only ruin my life, but ruin hers as well, just because she's my wife. How fair is that to her? Yes, she knew I was growing it, but she knows that it helps for my pain. All right, so you take a family working man that has to get to work every day. Now that man has no driver's license, so he has no car. So now he's got to depend on other people. He's got to depend either on public transportation, or he's got to depend on a neighbor or a family member. Somebody else has got to interrupt their day to take him to do his things because the state says you can't drive because you smoke pot. What about all the people who drink? I mean, where again is the justice here? I'm not seeing it. My current attorney is Michael Minardi. He's not just an attorney, he's also an activist. Michael believes strongly in the legalization of medical marijuana for the sick and the injured and the people that desperately need it. Michael wrote to courts, my new attorney. He didn't have to convince anybody. In fact, he sent a fax over to the judge. The judge not only allowed the medical necessity defense, but she also donated $1,500. I wouldn't call it donating, but the courts is giving me $1,500 to help depose my witnesses. I have respect for this judge. This judge, I understand she's a hard judge. From what I hear, I was only in front of her for maybe 2 minutes at my arraignment, if that. I didn't get to speak to her. But she's allowing the medical necessity defense. It's never been tried in Palm Beach County. The minute I got out of jail, I think, I started doing my research on what support groups were out there and who I could turn to and who would be there to help me get through this. I have developed relationships that I didn't know existed anymore. People are coming out pretty much of the woodwork, offering their support to me, offering to help with benefits, to help raise money. offering their time to go out and get petitions signed so we can get this legalized here in the state of Florida.